Well, hello everybody. Pastor Andy here. Welcome to Making It Simple. Great to be back with you today on this beautiful Monday. Hope you had a good weekend. We were very blessed with the things that the Lord allowed us to do and take part in. And what a joy. Saw another soul come to the kingdom yesterday. And it just really doesn't get any better than that. We started last week talking that God is not the problem. We've been basing this out of Isaiah 59. And I'd just like to talk a little bit more about that today, but I want to start off by saying I want you to understand this is not about taking this platform and taking this time, however long it may be, 10, 12, 15, whatever minutes, and beating people up or beating the church up or anything else. Friends, it's a recognition and an understanding that if we're going to get where it is that I believe that God wants us to be as His ambassadors, as His representatives on this earth in this darkness, then not only is there a certain standard, but there's a clear example that our actions should show. In the book of Romans, it talks about how we treat each other. In the book of John, John talks about, as the words of Jesus would say, how you treat each other, that's how people know that you're mine. If there's no difference between two people groups, meaning that both are not looked upon well or even both are revered, but there's nothing that stands out. There's nothing that says, okay, what you claim to represent, I don't see it. Okay? If a person claims to be, I don't know, a doctor or a lawyer, but they have absolutely no credentials whatsoever, and they don't tell you or can't tell you where they practice at, there becomes some skepticism. Okay? The same way with any kind of work. Some people can claim to work in Hollywood, and they've never even been to California. We can see all different kinds of things. It's the same way with what I do. There are a lot of people claim the title of something, but there's nothing to back it up. Now that's professionally. Personally, one can claim to be a believer in Christ, but the actions, it's not the words, friends, it's the actions. God's not the problem. The invitation has been given. The clarity of two beautiful words, follow me. The clarity of one word, believe. When we begin to put all of that together, we realize God's not the problem. As we started looking at Isaiah 59, it clearly says God's arm is not amputated that He can't save. It's not too short. Nothing's wrong there. So God's not the problem. It's an unwillingness on the part of the people. The part of that verse, it says that God is not deaf. When we think about what that means, all right, think about the ability of that. God is not deaf. His ears are not stopped up. He can still hear. Okay, what does that mean? His ability hasn't changed. It's our willingness to talk to Him. What does talking to God reveal? It reveals to us, it's just like standing in the mirror. I want to know if my hair is in place. Well, I don't, but I want to know how my attire looks. I want to know if it's straight. I want to know if it's wrinkled, whatever. I want to know if my makeup is on right. I want to know whatever. All the different cosmetic things we're concerned with when we look in the mirror. Am I in shape, or do I need some work, or I just had a meal? Is there something on my face? We could go on and on with examples, but my willingness to look in the mirror to see what's there, coupled with my willingness to do something about what I see. That equates the same thing as talking to God. Our willingness to talk to God, number one, that's another level of our relationship. Relationships with anybody never grow if we don't talk to each other. Okay? They at best become acquaintances or an acknowledgement. I know who you are and I said hello. That's about as far as it goes. We don't know each other. We don't have a bond. We just merely acknowledge each other. It's one of those yearly passing things, or every few years that, I hadn't forgot your name, but you're not on my speed dial either. It says that God's ears are not stopped up. He still has the ability to hear, but here's the question. Do we talk to him? Because it's not his inability to not only hear, it's certainly not his inability to answer, but it's our unwillingness oftentimes that gets in the way that prevents that conversation from ever taking place. See, it's not that God doesn't hear us. We don't talk to him. We often talk at him. As a society, God's name is mentioned a lot. Even probably on a daily basis. But the bigger majority of that time is in a blasphemous way, in an irreverent way, in an unholy way, whether it's through curse words or whether it's through expressions that are not honoring. One of the more popular ones are, "Oh my God." That's not a reverent speech. Now, I'm not trying to condemn anybody, and I'm certainly not trying to be the moral police, because I fall short too. But when we understand God's ability to hear has not changed, that also means his ability to answer has not changed. That goes back to verse 1. His arm is not amputated. He's got the ability to save. But do we call out? Do we truly seek the answer? Because that's where the problem is. God's not the problem. See, we see through these verses his ability. It's never lessened. His ability is always constant, just like he is. It never changes. Okay? So, let's get back to the mirror. Where's the problem? See, that's what we don't like. And we're beginning, we want to use the word evolve, okay? Now, I full disclaimer, I do not adhere, believe, or accept the theory of evolution in that we have come from some other form of life and transition into what we are now. I don't believe that. I believe that God created intelligent human beings from the day one, from whenever creation began. And I believe that. Intelligent beings, animals and creatures, and also until his final creation, which he said was very good, those of us made in his own image, people. But when we think of the word evolve, the ever-changing times, one of the consistencies that we see in that is the consistent change away from accountability, away from the mirror. I don't like what I see, but it's got to be somebody else's fault and they need to do something about it. See, friends, that's not being honest with ourselves. It's just like it says further in the scriptures, if you look in the mirror and you walk away and forgot what you saw, that's on you. In the book of 1 John, it says, if you say that you have no sin, you are a liar, and you're lying to yourself. What does that mean? That means I can't claim perfection. I don't have that ability. Good grief, nobody does. Okay? But God does. And so his ability to save is still there. His ability to hear is still there. So let's look in the mirror. Where's the problem? I've been mad all day. Okay. That's on you. That person may have done you wrong. But how you responded to that, how you dealt with that, that's on you. I'm mad because of all the things going on in the world. It's got to be God's fault. But did God do it? Could God stop it? Yes. But we also have to understand in the office, in the agency of free will, God doesn't violate that. Therefore, the opportunity is before you to make the decision as to which way you will go. I said this in a sermon yesterday. Which water will you use to quench your thirst? The water the world offers or the living water of Christ? Okay? That's on you. God's not the problem. The opportunity is there. The decision is mine. He's not going to make me go either way. It's on you. And it's the same way with our relationship with the Lord. And when we stand before Him one day, and we all will, He will know our heart. And He will know whether we said yes, whether we believed, whether we followed Him in truth, whether we tried our earnest best to live a life that was honoring to Him, or whether we didn't care, whether we didn't believe anything, whether it was just a show, whether we carried a title, but we actually didn't work for the company that we claimed to do. See, a lot of people do that today to try to create a public facade, a public character. But God knows the heart. God's not the problem. I hope this gives us something to think about as we look not only at ourselves, but as we look at everything around us and how we respond to that. Yes, there's going to be emotional moments. Yes, there's going to be things that are going to sadden us, anger us, grieve us, whatever the case. We're human. However, how we continue to respond to that and the relief that we look for from that, that's on us. God's not the problem. Okay, so when we begin to realize and look just at those first couple of verses of Isaiah 59, I don't know that we need to go much further in the sense that we could continue on, but I don't want this to be I don't want this to be repetitive, number one. And number two, I really feel like our point has been made in the sense that it's time to stop the noise. It's time to pause. It's time to look in the mirror. Not to see how pretty we are, but to say, I got to fix this. God's not the problem. He's the solution. I hope this has been a blessing to somebody. Thank you for joining me for Making It Simple. I love doing these lessons. Lord willing, we'll be back tomorrow with something brand new. I'm not sure what direction we'll go. I'll pray over that today, and we'll start a brand new teaching series tomorrow. I hope this has been a blessing. Isaiah 59, I challenge you to go and read that. And then go spend some time in the mirror and have a little talk with yourself. God bless you. Have a great day.